Hello everyone, Jules here. Today I'm making a video for a new series that I'm starting from now, and this series is called Tarot Reflections, and I'm starting this series because this is really a follow-on from my recent video about the new direction for my channel. So this is the first video of a series that I'm making, and I'm calling it Tarot Reflections, and it is based on the book Meditations on the Tarot. And there is already a video about this book on a new playlist that I now have on my channel called Esoteric Christianity. So it might be a good idea for people, if they have not seen that video, to maybe look at that playlist and look at the previous video about the book itself, because then you'll get some background information about the book. And I've got some points that I've written here to read in a moment. For people who want to join in with the series, it's not going to be back-to-back videos. I'm intending to make a video about once a week. That way it will flow as a series, but not back-to-back with the order that's in the book. This book is based on the major arcana, so I'm going to look at the different chapters and the different cards really in the order that I want to do. And I'm encouraging people, if you want to join in, to also do this in your own order as well, if you like. So you don't have to do this in the usual order of the major arcana. In this book, it starts with the Magician, and the Fool is the last card. I'm fairly sure, I'll just double check that, but I'm fairly sure the Fool is the second last card, I think it is, because that's the French order for the Marseille, for the French esoteric school. So this book was originally written in French but translated to English, and the Marseille Tarot is used. So you have the Marseille images on the front, and the subtitle is A Journey into Christian Hermeticism, which is really a philosophy and a type of spirituality. So this is not religion, Christian religion as such. So I wanted to make that point as well. So the thing about the book is that each chapter is really a series of spiritual exercises. So for some people it may not appear as that, but if you read the foreword by the author at the beginning of the book, he makes a point, and he wants to make a point about that, because he doesn't want people to think that this was written as some kind of intellectual exercise. He didn't mean the writing to come across like that. He actually intended all of these separate chapters to be spiritual exercises, and that fits in with esoteric Christianity completely. That's really emphasizing the spiritual part with spiritual exercises. So the interesting thing for each chapter is that there is a Bible verse reference for each of the chapters. So that is what makes this esoteric Christianity, because there are Bible references, and most of these are from the Gospels or the New Testament of the Bible. So that's why it is Christianity. So anyone who wants to join in, whether they have the book or not, you can use any Marseille. This is the CBD Tarot by Yoav Bendov. You can use any Marseille deck. It's preferable to use a Marseille because that's what's been used for the book. It's really for the Marseille. And people can get a second-hand copy of the book, or you could use Kindle version. So, or you can just follow the approach that I'm going to talk about today. This first video is called Approach because I want to talk about how to approach this so people know what to do with this type of practice, because it can be a practice. It is meant to be a practice. Spiritual exercises can be regular or they can be occasional. So you can choose what you want to do there. So how I approach each chapter of this book, there are a lot of ideas and concepts in this book that can seem a bit dense at first. So how I approach each chapter. First of all, I don't read them necessarily in the order that they're written in, because I was saying that you can choose any card or any chapter of the book. You don't have to do them in strict order. So how I approach each chapter is I don't actually read the chapter. I don't read this word for word because it's rather kind of dense writing in a way. By dense, I mean some people may find like too many ideas or too many concepts in one chapter, so that people don't feel a bit overwhelmed with that. And I think this fits in best with the idea of a spiritual exercise. I approach the chapter for the card with a relaxed mind. I would start by just relaxing yourself before you even open the book and before you start, or before you even pick up a card to choose, a major arcana card to choose. So I relax, I'm getting into a relatively relaxed state first. Then I have a relaxed mind, then I just browse the chapter, not reading word for word. I would just browse the chapter. It's like you're just scanning the chapter. And as you do that, you will notice a particular word or a phrase or a sentence. That's usually all you need for the spiritual exercise approach. So if you do that, it could be as simple as a word, a phrase, or a sentence. And this is why I'm calling this also tarot reflections, because it's reflective thinking. I know that it's called Meditations on the Tarot, but at the time it was written, this was also written by a European person who would have seen what we call spiritual exercises or reflection. He would have seen that as meditation, and that's not what is widely regarded now, especially from an Eastern point of view of what meditation is. So to call this tarot reflection, I think is actually more accurate about what was intended when he wrote the book. So as I was saying, this is not the kind of book that is suitable to read all the way through. Like it's not even suitable to read each chapter all the way through. If you did that, I mean, there's so many ideas and concepts. You might choose like 1 page a day, something like that. If you wanted to do that, if you wanted to read the chapter all the way through. And it's also not a suitable book at all for reading front to back. you can try that if you like, but as I said, there's so many ideas and concepts in here. That's why it's really good for just overall browsing and scanning and just choosing what is actually relevant for you, what resonates with you. It's really good for that. So you're doing this as a spiritual exercise, and also to avoid information overwhelm, because there's just so much content, so much detail there. So you can use the chapters for spiritual insights and reflection. Any card, whenever you wish to choose any card. You can approach the book at random also. If you choose to get this book or the Kindle, you could just choose to sort of browse at random and then look at the card, then choose the card, or you could do it the other way around. Choose the card and then find the relevant chapter for the card. And as I said, you can do this at random, you can do this in any order that you wish. So, as I was saying, approach this with a light focus. So that way you get into the lighter level of mindset. And notice any symbolism on the card. That's also a good thing to do. Especially looking at one particular symbol. That also can be enough to be a spiritual exercise or reflection for you. So when I say light focus, I think everyone will be familiar with that kind of daydreaming mind that people have sometimes when you are relaxed. That idea of the daydreaming mind, I think, is a really good way to describe the light focus mindset that is really required for this as a spiritual exercise. And if you like, you can also keep a diary or a journal. Now, this doesn't have to be sort of a regimented thing. That is if you want to make note of any of the insights or reflections that you have for the particular card and or the particular chapter. You can just use an ordinary exercise book. It doesn't have to be anything really fancy. This is just an ordinary exercise book. You don't. This particularly is not about a conventional journal where you might be concerned about the appearance and all this kind of thing. It's really sort of more meaningful than that. By meaningful, I mean you're wanting to get these just the spiritual essence, the meaningful reflection. So it's not about appearances of any kind. It's more of a deeper inner reflection. And it's something that it's like a diary in the way that you would keep that private. It's not for usual presentation, like presenting publicly. It's really something that you just use for your own private reflection. So you can keep a diary or a journal. You might prefer to keep it, refer to it like a diary, because then you'll think of it being more private. And also with the deck that you choose, with the preferably Marseille that you choose, I would keep this as a separate deck for the spiritual exercises, because your mindset you will automatically go into this kind of mindset. It'll be easier to do that than if you use a deck that you would normally use for divination. So I recommend that you do use a separate deck if possible. for the spiritual exercises. Yeah, and the other thing I was saying before that was, decide what kind of practice you want, how free form you want it to be. Even with the timing, whether it's just occasional when you really feel that you want to do that, or whether you want to make it more structured, routine, like a more regular practice. Some people like something a bit more structured. They feel that they will get more benefit if they structure something, like say once a week, even once a month. They feel that they kind of commit themselves better if they do that. Other people may want something that's much more freeform. You could just keep your deck that you choose somewhere where you can see it. That will kind of sort of remind you about that, or the book or the Kindle itself. You can have this book out and it will be a reminder. You could have the book on the shelf, or book on your table nearby, so that it's a kind of a light reminder of wanting to do this practice and wanting to make it a part of your path. So I think I've covered everything that I've written down for today. I just wanted to make these points for the first video about how to approach this, because I think a lot of people would be wondering about how to approach this kind of practice, these kinds of spiritual exercises, but also this book. I think this book, because there is so much in here in regards to ideas and concepts, a lot of people may be a bit put off about that. But if you approach it in the way that I've talked about, it really does help, because I have always used that method with this book. I always have, and I find the book more enjoyable and more meaningful for me when I do that. So here is the book again, Meditations on the Tarot, a journey into Christian Hermeticism. I really think of this book as esoteric Christianity. It's also a form of Neoplatonism that developed during the Renaissance period, which is really the period that before Rosicrucianism that very much influenced Rosicrucianism. So this is the first video talking about approach. There will be another video soon. As I was saying, I'm aiming to do one video a week, talking about my reflections on different chapters and different cards, so people can follow like that. And in between those videos of about once a week, I'm going to put on my channel other videos that come under this umbrella of the esoteric Christianity and Rosicrucianism. So they're the kinds of videos that I'm going to be doing from now on my channel, as I said in my recent video. So I'll put some details again under the video, but I do recommend, if you can, to watch the video on the new playlist about the book. And as I was saying, you can also just use this method if you don't wish to get the book. You can still use this method for spiritual exercises and reflections with the tarot. So I'll put some details below the video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.